So, first example. How do I explain this one? You know, you ever seen like a cob of corn? Right? In corn and some other plants also, they have this cover and you have to peel it. And when you peel it, there are grains inside. You know what I'm talking about? That cob is called, in Arabic, it is called sumbula. And in order for me to make sure you understand what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make you repeat some things, okay? What is it called? Sumbula. Sumbula. That is an ear, like the whole bud, of grains inside. It could be corn, it could be other things. But when you peel it and it's got a lot of seeds inside, a lot of little dots and grains inside, that is called a sumbula. Okay. Now, if I say in English car, what's the plural? Cars. House. Mouse. Mouses. No? No? Okay. Mice. Okay, but usually in English, when you have a word, you give it a plural by adding what? An S. It usually works. I mean, it doesn't work with, you know, house and houses it works, but mouse, I don't know. You know, but I might as well tell you a joke in the meantime. If you don't laugh, then you have to leave. Okay, so when I was studying economics, and I don't know why I was doing that, but I was studying macroeconomics when I was in college, and our professor was a Chinese fellow. He was doing his PhD in New York City, and he was a macroeconomics professor, and he spoke in a very heavy Chinese accent. And there were 300 students in the class. I mean, this is some of the best sleep I ever had in my life. But in any case, so he used to give his lecture, and when he would give his lecture, like, you really try to listen, you didn't understand until he said, exam tomorrow. I was like, so the entire class, 300 students, we wrote a petition to the department, please, we cannot take an exam, we don't understand what this man is saying. So, he got very upset. He got angry at the entire class. So the next day he came to class and he said, he put a PowerPoint on the screen and he said, Professor Wang's list of complaints against English. He says, you complain about my English, I complain about English. So he said, the English language doesn't make any sense. And especially in the US, we say things like you park on a driveway and you drive on a parkway, right? So, and the plural of house is what? No, the plural of mouse is what? Mice, but the plural of house is not heis. And tooth is teeth, but booth is not beef. So he had a whole list of these complaints. And he took 45 minutes and went through all of them, right? It was the best economics class I've ever had in my life. But anyway, the point I was going to make to all of you was, car is cars. Sumbula is singular. Sumbulat, say that? Sumbulat, that's plural. That is plural. But the Arabic language is kind of cool because you can have more than one plural. It's weird. Like in English, you don't have cars and carses. You don't have that. You have book and books. You don't have book and books and books. You don't do that. But the Arabic language actually has multiple plurals for one word. I'll give you an example that you know. Kafir, kafirun. Any other plurals you know? Kufar. Nabi, you can say nabiyun. You can say what else? Anbiya. You have multiple plurals. It happens all the time in Arabic. So in the Arabic language, sumbula is singular. What was the plural? Sumbulat. And there's another plural, sanabil. Sanabil. Now this is vocabulary I'm teaching you without any notes. And if you're brothers, you're not taking notes anyway. But if you're sisters, probably chances are you're writing something down. It's okay. But sumbula is singular. Now I'm going to hear from the crowd. What was the singular? Sumbula. What was the plural? Sumbulat. What's the other plural? Sanabil. Now here's the secret. In the Arabic language, they have a concept. I kid you not. This is real. In the Arabic language, they have a concept that you can have singular, you can have plural, and you can have super plural. Literally, super plural. They have singular and plural and Super plural. Sumbula is singular. Sumbulat is plural. Sanabil is what? Super plural. So the more powerful plural is which one? Sanabil. You with me so far? Now let's turn to the Quran. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the ear of grain, sumbula, but He mentions the plural. He says, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ حَبَّةٍ أَنْبَتَتْ سَبْعَ سَنَابِلٍ. Sab'a sanabil. Is that the regular plural or the super plural? I don't remember, you have to tell me. That's the super plural, okay. When you turn to Surah Yusuf, it's the only other time the plural is used. Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَقَالَ الْمَلِكِ إِنِّي أَرَى سَبْعَ بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ يَأْكُلُهُنَّ سَبْعٌ عِجَافٌ وَسَبْعَ سُنْبُلَاتٍ خُضْرٍ. Sumbulatin. What was that? Was that the regular? Was that the singular, the plural, or the super plural? What was that? So the weak plural is used in Surah Yusuf. And the strong plural is used in Surah Al-Baqarah. And you know what's crazier? What's crazier is in Baqarah, Allah is talking about 7 of them. Sab'a sanabil. Sab'a sanabil, 7 of them. And in Surah Yusuf, Allah is also talking about 7 of them. Sab'a sumbulatin khudr. 7 of them both times. So the number is equal. This is 7 and that is 7. Then how come one is more powerful and one is weaker? You would say if one is 75 and the other is 7, okay, I understand this one's more powerful and this one is weaker. But mathematically speaking, both of them in number are what? They're the same. Now in English translation, it says 7 ears of grain in Surah Al-Baqarah. And in the English translation, when you go to Surah Yusuf, what does it say? 7 ears of grain. The translation is identical. There is no difference in translation. But Allah chose to use the powerful plural in Baqarah and the weaker plural in Surah Yusuf. How come? How come? When you look at Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah says those who spend, the example of those who spend for the sake of Allah, in the path of Allah, is like a single seed. And every seed gives birth to 7 ears of grain. And inside every grain, فِي كُلِّ سُنْبُلَةٍ مِئَةُ حَبَّةٍ. Inside every grain there are inside every ear there are 100 seeds. وَاللَّهُ يُضَاعِفُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ. And Allah multiplies on top of that for whoever He wants. The context of the ayah is you will take 1, you will turn it into 7, every 7 will give you another 100 each, and on top of the math that you can do for each of those, 7 times 100 times 7 times 100 for each of those, and you keep going like that. On top of the math you can do, Allah has His own calculations. وَاللَّهُ يُضَاعِفُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah multiplies it in His own way, above and beyond that, for whoever He wants. Meaning this calculation is beyond human capability. Is this a context of weakness or power? Is this a context of less or more? So the powerful plural is used. When you turn to Surah Yusuf, the king sees a dream. You remember the dream? Fat cows, skinny cows, 7 ears of corn. And the dream is interpreted. And what does the dream mean? You will have 7 good years and then you will have 7 bad years. Is the 7 good years going to give you unlimited resources or limited resources? Limited resources, and you have to use them carefully and you have to store them because you will need them for the next 7 years. So you cannot be careless with the 7 years of grain example. It's going to be less. It's not going to be too much. So you have to ration. Is this a context of more powerful or weaker? Weaker. In the weaker context, Allah used sumbulat. In the more powerful context, Allah used sanabil. It's the same word. It's the same number. Surah Yusuf is a Makki surah. Surah Al-Baqarah is a Madani surah. So the ayat are years apart on the tongue of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Years apart. When he recited Sab'a Sumbulat in Surah Yusuf, it was years ago. And when he recited Sab'a Sanabil in Baqarah, it was years later. Can you imagine that he will think to himself, years ago I said Sab'a Sumbulat. Maybe I should say Sab'a Sanabil here, it fits better. Is that capable? Are we capable of doing that as human beings? SubhanAllah. Just the way Allah describes a single word. A single word. I want to give you one more